assalamu alaikum, good morning, khush amdeed, ji ayanu, goeiemorgen.
Bakhair Agale, Ni Hao, Chuleshime, Washmele, Ohio, Gonzaimes, Guten Morgen, Hola, Bonjour, Privet, Kaifahal, Halishuma Chatore, Alan Vasalan Maraba, Buna, Mucho, Gracias, Swabi, and a very amazing good morning to everybody who's tuned into PTV World and watching World this morning alongside the very stunning, the very fabulous Shiza Hashmi and Shahzad Khan. Hello Shiza, how are you today?
Stunning and fabulous, as you already mentioned, but thank you for saying that. How are you?
I feel great too as well. I wish that somebody will actually use the same words for me
I
too.
will if you let me open one day.
Yeah, but okay, we can do that. But ladies and gentlemen, today what me and Shiza has actually thought about is that we're not going to take a longer period of time explaining what we are talking
Yeah.
about today, and it's because of the fact that we actually want to raise awareness about this particular issue. And in 2019, I think that the theme they have picked up on, or the motive they have behind this entire initiative, I think is great, because in recent days we have seen that quite a lot of people actually, or quite a lot of cases have been registered or reported about suicide. But today, ladies and gentlemen, we are actually going to talk about World Mental Health Day as well, which was a few days ago.
Yeah.
And whenever we speak about mental health, ladies and gentlemen, this is one of those topics which was very kind of, the right word to use for it is that it was kind of in a way that people actually never put focus onto such issues as well, where mental health being very important, and World Health Organization actually trying to convey to people that it's your mental, physical, spiritual health as well. So there are a lot of other things which come under it, and
Right.
I think that it's about high time that we raise awareness.
Right, absolutely. And Shazad, I'm really happy to say that this topic, mental health or mental awareness, is not tabooed anymore. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not stigmatized
Yeah,
anymore. It's
that's
openly
the word.
talked
Yeah.
about. Yes, also this year, I think you already mentioned, we are focusing upon suicide prevention. Ladies and
Yep.
gentlemen, annually speaking, 800,000 people, and this is just a rough estimate,
Yeah.
reported ones, right?
Exactly.
800,000 people around the globe lose their lives to suicide. Why is that so? I mean, is there any way out of it? Is there any way people can overcome their thoughts that they are going through in terms
Yeah.
of their mental health? Can they improve it? This is what we will talk about. But one very interesting that we learned, Shazad, weight,
Yeah.
remember? So
Yeah.
when we're talking about mental health and specifically talking about suicide awareness,
Yeah.
we both want to say weight,
Yeah.
W-A-I-T.
IT. So when we say W, ladies and gentlemen, I actually intend to say that we really need to watch over people's behavior and the characteristics they pose whenever in a situation. And when we move on to A is all about actions. And I think that a lot of action needs to be taken in terms of people who are actually out there who are mentally ill and do not get any attention.
Right, and for the people out there who might be seeing people around them, their friends or their loved ones who are going through anything depressing, I in WAIT stands for, it shall pass. Just tell them, make them explain that this is just a phase. Of course, it's really hard to understand, but it shall pass.
Yeah.
And T, talk it out. Definitely keeping all those feelings inside you is definitely going to be so harmful to you, to the people around you. Might as well talk about it.
Exactly. And just very quickly, for all of those people who are out there, as Muslims, we have a firm faith on this very aspect, that people who actually die of suicide are never ever going to heaven. So this
Yeah,
is
because
one thing.
mayusi kufr hai.
Yes.
Like I had to say it in Urdu because it's literally one of my very firm beliefs.
Yeah, and yeah, ladies and gentlemen, no matter what happens in life, all you really need to do is probably look for a silver lining, and that's it. And never give up. These are a few things. And for all of those people who say that, oh, men does not cry and, things like that, I think that, crying actually helps you relax. And
course.
Shiza, you were very right earlier when we were discussing that we actually need to speak about emotional intelligence and, all of
Right.
these things, because a lot of focus is not put onto or into, while we are growing up, into your emotional balances as well, your
Absolutely.
psychological thought process. Nobody figures it out that, there can be something wrong. But what they say is that from ages 15 to 29, this is the vulnerable group where people actually attempt suicides quite a lot of times.
Yeah.
But other than that, now it can be seen that it's moving into kids as well, and kids as young as 8 and 7, that they have suicidal thoughts. Not that they
course.
attempt suicides, but they get these kind of thoughts as well. And to discuss all of this, ladies and gentlemen, we have been joined with some amazing guests over here in the studios. With us today, ladies and gentlemen, Chief Executive, Port Mental Health Association, Mr. Zulkarnain Asgar. Hello, assalamu alaikum. How are you?
Fine. How are you, Shazad?
Absolutely perfect. You look stunning with that red tie, and you look
Thank you.
wonderful. It looks like as if you're going for a ball dinner. Yeah, that's great. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
And alongside Zulkarnain Asgar, ladies and gentlemen, we have been joined by a clinical psychologist, director of SK Foundation. She's none other than Ms. Sobia Khatib. Hello, assalamu alaikum. How are you?
Walaikum assalam. I'm good. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for joining us. It's wonderful to have you. But let's get started.
Yeah.
So, World Health, World Mental
Mental
Health
health.
Day, ladies and gentlemen. That's what we're
Right.
talking about. And before I ask any question, let's take a look at this report. You guys will come back. We'll actually do a fair analysis of the report. Let's do it.
World Mental Health Day was established in 1992 by the World Federation for Mental Health. In some countries around the world, it forms just one part of the larger Mental Illness Awareness Week. This year, the World Federation for Mental Health has decided to make suicide prevention the main theme of World Mental Health Day. Suicidal behavior has existed throughout human history, but due to several complex factors, it has increased gradually in all parts of the world and in the past few decades has reached alarming statistical levels. Suicide is a global public health problem that deserves the attention of all the actors in the field of mental health, including scientific and professional organizations.
We all have our ups and downs, but sometimes it's more than that.
If you think something's wrong, the only way to find out is to ask.
Ask straight out. Are you thinking about killing yourself?
Don't wait until you're sure. Trust your gut, because it never hurts to ask.
And it can make a big difference.
All the difference.
in your kid's life.
Mental health problems ranging from issues like depression and anxiety disorders to conditions like schizophrenia affect millions of people around the world. In fact, according to current statistics, 1 in 4 people will experience some kind of mental health problem during their lifetime, and many more will see friends or family members affected.
More emphasize on the pronunciation of the word rather than the connotation of it. All right, ladies and gentlemen, so this was a little report, and to get started with it, I think that the first and the foremost important question to ask is what actually deteriorates our mental health?
Yeah.
So, Zulkarnain Saab, we'll start with you. Let's do it.
Thank you, Shazad, having me on in the show. Right, but first of all, we need to understand 5 main things which deteriorate our mental health.
Sure.
First, emotional imbalance or sometimes emotional issues, gender-based violence, sometimes oppression, sometimes disparity, and most of the time the way one experiences her thoughts, the way we our cognitions are main play vital role in it, because the way we learn our how we can process our thoughts, how we can process our emotion, that contributes a lot.
Okay.
And the most important thing is which affect our mental health, that is our emotional experience, because emotional health play very vital role, very important role in our mental health. Because if we cannot adapt in a situation, if individual cannot cope with a situation, that means he or she it is likelihood that he or she may face any kind of mental health related issues. So that's very important. When a child, it's perfectly okay to experience emotion and express it. And the way we gender our boys and girls, that play a very vital role to deteriorate our mental health.
Right, absolutely. You very rightly said, and since you mentioned a lot of factors that might contribute towards a bad mental health, they are all right, but I don't really think we can put a finger on one of these, right? This might be the reason for a major public. But coming on to you, Sobia, since we're talking about, suicide prevention, I think it's really important for us and everyone out there to understand the difference between suicidal thoughts and suicide attempt.
The basic difference between when a person, deteriorate, or you can say detach from the basic instincts of life. All right? The passive feeling that he feels that some kind of the thinking pattern is going on. All right, it's a passive attempts. The ideation and the thinking patterns are going on, and the active ideation, yeah, active involvement or active attempts is when a person try to be poison something, take
Right.
poison, hanging himself, go out without thinking where he want to go. The actions involved in the harming himself
Yeah.
or herself, it's a kind of activation of, you can say, the self-harming behavior, or
Right.
he gonna be a suicide attempts and things. When a person is only thinking about the ideation, I have to, finish myself, I don't deserve anything, this is the end of my life.
Right.
When the patterns are going on, it's a kind of the, passive feelings, or we can say the thinking of the pattern of the person.
Yeah.
All
No,
right.
well, that's great. Thank you very much for mentioning that. And Shiza, for everybody who's out there, so there's a reason, ladies and gentlemen, why me and Shiza kind of emphasize on this day, because this day was actually a few days ago.
Yeah.
And so we picked up on this topic is because of the fact that I believe now that I've matured, now that I've grown up, I think that a lot of people from within your own community and society actually poison you.
Right.
And the kind of behaviors people have these days, I mean, there are people who, adults, mature people who bully other people. There are people who actually talk about their personal lives,
Right.
kind of,
Trigger their
yeah,
behaviors and
they'll make sure that they let them down in any occasion in front of people. And I think that this poisoning, this gradual poisoning by the society towards one individual actually makes him think that I should actually end my life, because it's not worth it, because people are not making him or her feel like as if you're appreciated.
Right, and Shazad, you know what? I'm going to add to this actually.
Sure.
Yes, this is a trend, in not only in our society, all over the world, and especially because how social media is booming. I don't know if any of you is on Twitter. There's this cancel culture going on Twitter. One thing you're going to pick up, for example, if you write something I hated, I'm going to literally convince all of the Twitterati to come against you, and you're cancelled. And we're going to give you so much hate. We're going to bully you. We really don't think about what's going to happen to that one person. I mean, imagine one against the world.
Yeah, that's
I mean, that's heartbreaking, right?
Exactly. A human being, basically, the negative feelings always deteriorate, or, a person can easily collapse himself
Right.
by having, a study say, one negative behavior, one negative thought can easily collapse your whole neurotransmitters, because the life is going to, a person feel easily help,
Right,
like he's in
right.
health situation, there is no one, I can't help myself.
Exactly.
Then it's really important, a person who is having a low personality traits. This is really important, that in society, a person who have a low mood, having don't interest in anything, this
Right,
leads him to himself of, self-harming
Right. Do you wanna add
I'd like to add two things over here, because there are two type of pattern needs we need to understand. It's not necessarily low people have they are low, they attempt or they have ideation, suicidal ideation. It is quite common. It's also observed people having lot of energy, full of life.
Borderline.
All of a sudden they attempted suicide. One thing, and there is another thing we need to understand, the way we process our thought, that matters.
Exactly.
You have said earlier, Twitter kind of thing, social media play, not only social media, our attitudes,
Exactly.
the way we deal with the people, that is a major contributor, because you know why we don't provide space to them speak out. One important thing we need to understand,
Yeah.
that is, if someone say I'm going to end my life,
Yeah.
don't take it light.
Exactly.
Because it is a alarming sign. Usually mental health practitioner, rather general practitioner, health practitioner, they ignore this thing. Sometimes family ignore this thing, and this is the first final cry for help. And
Right.
that needs to be taken care of. And if someone says I'm going to end up my life, that means he or she needs mental health
Help.
help.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for explaining that so beautifully, and you being the first visually impaired psychologist in South Asia, right? We're so happy to have you over here. But ladies and gentlemen, since we're talking about suicide, I don't know how to explain this, but this is a sad reality of our society. Of course, mental health is slowly breaking the stigma and coming out, and people are talking about it. But a lot of people are still stigmatizing suicide. I have seen teenagers commit suicide, and their family saying, "Oh no, 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 it was just a heart attack, or he fell off something." No one's admitting it. I mean, the amount of awareness you can actually raise by accepting that this is a part of your society. How can we get rid of that attitude?
Exactly. But thank you very much for being with us, and thank you very much, Zulkarnain sir, for giving us a quick solution that we really need to be very focused. We really need to ask them questions as well and whatnot.
Right.
But ladies and gentlemen, towards the end, before we wrap up this segment, because we have another segment which is very important, as important as this one as well.
Yeah.
So the only thing I'm going to say is that everybody out there has got a lot of burden on their shoulders, and the
Right.
first person they see who's vulnerable, they kind of try throwing it onto their shoulders. Now, it totally depends on you, just like Zulkarnain Saab said, that it totally depends on you how you process the information which you gather from elsewhere. There should be a logical reasoning within your own head as well, so that you can move further. And there are a lot of things which go haywire in life. There are things which are not in your control. Yeah, and if you realize that this thing is not in my control, please stop stressing about it as well, because you cannot do anything about it. All you can do is pray. So, ladies and gentlemen, everybody who's out there, so towards the end of this segment, we're only going to reiterate upon what we said before. Wait.
Wait.
Which is watch, and then there's ask, and then I.
Absolutely, me.
Yes, and then T
It
is
shall
talk.
pass,
Yeah,
and T means
then
talk
T
to
is
everyone.
talk to everyone as well. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after a short break, because we're actually going to talk about people who are homeless, who are on the roads, and are drug addicts as well, and they do not have any facility. Let's talk about
Stay
that today.
tuned.